2 for the price of 1, baby.
Come on! Ah! Yes! Yes!
Not wheels, though. The fitment guides.
Oh.
Today's fitment guide, we're talking about the Kia K5 and the Hyundai Sonata. They're sister cars that are essentially the same. Same engine, same transmission, and possibly the biggest breakthrough in recent automotive engineering, the Kia Boyz are no longer able to steal your car with a USB charger. Kia owners rejoice, your insurance has been lowered. This guide is for the newest models of the 5th Gen K5 Optima 21 Plus and the 8th Gen Sonata 20 Plus. These cars look super futuristic, and we see that design philosophy carried over to the factory wheels. Kia went with a two-tone wheel full of odd geometric shapes, and to be honest with you, they look kind of lame. In our opinion, and probably yours if you're reading this or watching this, there is a reason that certain aftermarket designs are timeless and look good on anything, and others not so much, regardless of how modern the front clip on this car looks. So if you like dish, if you like concave with aggressive fitment, then stay tuned because these are going to look great on your Kia or Hyundai. As always, we want to talk about the basics first, and that means we're talking bolt pattern, 5x114, lug nut thread, M12 by 1.5, wheel center bore, 67.1, and of course the torque on your lug nuts, just for fun, 80 foot-pounds. Now, if this is your first time dabbling in aftermarket wheels, the good news is there are a ton of options thanks to the widely used 5x114 lug pattern, 67.1 center bore. In fact, there are over 100,000, and I think that's probably low, possible wheels in this bolt pattern on our website. Not all of these will fit your K5 or DN8, which is why in the next section we are going to chop that down by looking at the best spec for these cars. All 5x114 wheels on our website down below. Now, you might need some accessories to fit your aftermarket wheels up on your Kia or Hyundai. As far as hub bore is concerned, you will usually need a hub-centric ring. Most aftermarket wheels are made in 73.1. We sell those. Good news, 67.1 is also Nissan, so we have these in stock. We probably have more of these in stock than we should. So that said, pick up the hub-centric rings at checkout on our website to make your wheels not vibrate. Also, lug nuts, stuff like that. Again, our website's super easy to use. You just click the link down below, you find wheels for your Kia or Hyundai, there you go. So anyway, let's talk about wheel specs. Your K5 or DN8 is going to come with one of these from the factory. You got a 16 by 6.5, 43 or 46 offset. Why? I don't know. I'm sorry. 215 60 16 tires. 17s, 17 by 7 plus 48 with a 215 55 17 tire. 18s with an 18 by 7.5 plus 18 235 45 18 tires. 19s Kia. 19 by 8 plus 50, 245, 40, 19 tires. From the factory, you got 16s, 17s, 18s, 19s. I don't know why they didn't put 20s. This doesn't narrow things down much, but with aftermarket wheels, we can pretty much rule out 16s and 17s because they kind of look like garbage. So let's talk aftermarket wheels. For aftermarket wheels, we recommend sizes between 18 and 20 inch. Even for winter tires, we don't see a reason to go smaller than 18s as the tire for that diameter is already pretty tall and pretty cheap. If you want to go for a big, bold look with some nice skinny rubber bands, 20s are a great look, especially when you lower your car. 19s are the Goldilocks size for these. It fills out the wheel wells nicely, but still leaves room for a 40 series tire in most cases. Now, width-wise, this is a front-wheel drive sport compact, so 8.5 to 9.5, offsets in the mid-30s. It's not a 350Z, you're not fitting big wheels. Pretty typical on most mid-size sedans, nothing to write home about here. Now, of course, while these sizes are pretty typical on modern mid-size sedans, you could go more or less aggressive depending on the look you want on your car. So deciding the diameter can be the hardest part, so we broke this guide down by diameter, starting with 18s, then 19s, and finally 20s. The same sizes would apply for 16 and 17s. If the wheels you want only come in those sizes, you could do that, but don't. First, we're taking a look at some ENKEI RAIJIN 18 by 8 plus 40. These are wrapped up in Pirelli P0 AS tires, 235 45 18s. This one is lowered on a set of Godspeed coilovers. This is the stock tire size. And so starting out with a basic setup, this 2021 GT line K5 is sitting on ENKEI RAIJIN wheels, but the tires are the factory Pirelli all seasons. This is a modest upgrade to the factory wheel sizes, being only half an inch wider with a slightly lower offset. So just take that wheel, push it out like half an inch there, give or take. The fitment's not quite flush, but it does look a lot better than stock 18s, and the wheels are lighter. This one's lowered on Godspeed coilovers, and a similar setup would look good on stock height cars as well. As you can expect with offsets like this, there is no rubbing or any other clearance issues needed, no trimming, no cutting, no nothing like that. Next one we're taking a look at is on ESR CS11s 18 by 8.5 with a 30 offset all around. These are on Prinks High Race HZ2 225/40/18 tires. This one is lowered on coilovers once again, but there are no rubbing issues with this size. If you like 18s and you want a more aggressive fitment, you could go for an 18 by 8.5 plus 30 like we see on this Sonata. Do note that the tires are a size smaller, which may be necessary to fit these wheels with no rubbing and without obviously trimming or rolling the fenders or anything similar. The owner did choose cheaper tires, which are typically better for stretching, so think Lexani, Nankang, Lionheart, etc., etc. This car is lowered on coilovers, and again, predictably, there are no rubbing issues here. So now we're getting into kind of the sweet spot 19s as we talked about earlier. First up, MRR GF5 wheels, 19 by 8.5 plus 35. This one is on those stock Pirelli P0s, 245/40/19. Now 8.5 plus 35 is pretty much your sweet spot for sport compact wheels, and that's kind of one of the, go-to sizes. This one's on Adro lowering springs and width and offsets, so it's obviously not going to change much between the diameters. These MRRs are 19 by 8.5 with a 35 offset. Like I said, perfect spec for flush fitment with no camber, nothing. You just take the wheels, you put them on your car, there you go. If you have a GT line that comes with factory 19s, you could reuse the tires as the owner of this car did. There's nothing wrong with the Pirelli all seasons that come on these, especially if you're using them for, all seasons. But if you want to upgrade, quality summer tires definitely will give your car more potential. Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 is probably the linear transition there. Next, we've got some AODHAN's AFF7s, a deceptively light wheel. AODHAN's not exactly known for lightweight wheels, but these are very light. They're a flow-formed wheel. They come in at a 35 offset, and these are wrapped up in, big shocker here, Continental Extreme Contact tires, 235/40/19s all the way around. This one is lowered on springs. The wheel specs are pretty much exactly the same as the previous car, and the difference here being the Continental tires, which are obviously a much, much higher quality tire, and they are sized at that 235/40/19. So if you're looking to swap out the all seasons for they call this a summer tire, it's an all season. They are one of the hottest options on the market. They are very affordable. They give awesome performance potential. I would say they give the PS4S a run for their money. This car is lowered on springs. Otherwise, there's really not much more to say about it, considering that the specs are very similar to what we have seen before. So now our next car is sitting on some AVANT GARDE M590s, 19 by 9.5 plus 40 all around. This is the first 9.5 we're taking a look at. Pirelli P0 245/40/19 OEM tires on this one. This is lowered again on those Adro lowering springs. Adro's a great brand. They pretty much cornered the market on these Korean cars. If you want a 9 or 9.5 inch wide wheel, it is better to err on the side of slightly higher offset. This K5 is running a 40 offset all around on those 19 by 9.5 wheels. Do note that this is pretty aggressive and may require trimming, rolling, or other modification to the fenders to make them work. This is another case where the stock 245/40/19s were retained, and once again, Adro springs were used on this build to dial in the ride height. Now for the JDM boys out there who bought a KDM car, WEDS Kran Cerberus 2, 19 by 10 with a 5mm spacer, effective plus 17, Lexani LX20, 225/40/19 tires. These have become a go-to tire on our website because guess what? They are super, super, super affordable and they work pretty well. Like I said, 5mm spacers all around, lowered on scale coilovers. This is a stance build, so the fenders are trimmed. There is some rubbing at full turn. And this is going to be our final look at 19-inch wheels. These are wheels outside the specs that we normally recommend. So if you go on our website and you put in the car, it's not going to show you these. This car is a stance build, so unless you don't mind stretched tires, trimmed fenders, rubbing, scraping, all that, adjustable suspension arms, this is probably not for you. But for the small percentage who are looking to stance their K5, these are the details. This one is static on coilovers. It is not on air suspension. It is sitting on a 19 by 10 with a 22 offset wheel with a 5mm spacer, bringing the offset to plus 17. This will not fit on your stock K5. Do not hit us up and ask it. No. It will require fender trimming. They are not for the faint of heart. This is obviously very aggressive fitment, so you are going to need to mess with your alignment specs. Front camber is normally adjustable with the coilover top hats and the stock eccentric bolts, while the rear does need adjustable suspension arms to dial in camber. This car is in our gallery where your car should be too. Click the link down below to add yours, browse a whole bunch of builds, find out even more details, and obviously do not screw up your Fitment user gallery before you buy wheels. So now, the last size we're going to talk about, 20s. And no, it's not donk spec on this car. They actually look pretty good. First up, ENKEI TSR-X 20 by 8.5 with a 40 offset all around. They are running a 3mm spacer, so it's an effective plus 37. Bridgestone Potenza 245/35/20 tires lowered on True Heart springs, 5mm spacers in the rear and 3mm spacers in the front, so 35 and 37 offset. This 2022 Hyundai Sonata shows how good 20s can look when you pair them up with lowering springs. In general, larger wheels pair best with lowering, whether it's on springs, coils, air suspension, whatever you're doing. This 2022 is lowered on True Heart springs, which are a nice 1.5-inch drop and are one of the least expensive brands on the market. You can pick them up, the link down below in the description. With small spacers, these wheels are right in the perfectly flush range on that, and we keep harping on about the sizing because it's just so darn good. Just because the diameter is different does not mean the other specs need to change. Where you will see a difference is in the tire sizing, particularly the aspect ratio. When you move up to 20s, you want a 35 or even a 30 aspect ratio instead of 40 or 45 like on 19s. We have a whole video explaining why you want this, but the long story short, the tires get really tall when you get to 20s. Now we got some Rotiform SGNs, the R189, I don't know why Rotiform does this, 20 by 9, 35 offset, Lionheart, LH5, 215, 35, 20 tires on this one. This one is bagged, so you get to make those cool psh noises at the gas station. Air suspension, of course. There are a few companies that produce air kits for these cars, and this GT line is running one from the boys over at Bag Riders. With bags, you get the best of both worlds for drivability and looks, although you do sacrifice some performance. This car has no rubbing or scraping or scrubbing or anything like that when it's aired up. As far as wheel specs, you could go crazy with some Audi-camber setup and super stretched tires, or you could keep it relatively tame for more tucked fitment that you can actually use on the road in your day-to-day life. This car is on Rotiform's specs 20 by 9, 35 offset. As we know, these specs work great regardless of ride height. Besides the air suspension, this car does not have any other fancy parts, simply the natural camber that comes from being this low. So what's nice about this is buy wheels, buy bags, put them on, you're done. Let's wrap it up. Let's look back. The K5 and Gen8 use standard sizes for modern mid-size sedans. The money size for these is 18 to 20s, 8.5 to 9.5 width, and an offset around 35 to 40. Given how common these sizes are, you have so many options to choose from. We just touched the tip of the iceberg in this guide. At the moment, other aftermarket support is still being developed for this platform, but that has not stopped owners from lowering, adding aero, lighting, other similar aesthetic modifications. And just look at the cars here. Almost everything we featured is lowered, and it's got like some little aero mods. And when you're ready to set your K5 or your Sonata apart, we have all the parts you need to do it. Start with wheels and tires, add suspension, add lights, add all the other goodies that you need, and you will have a showstopper of a Kia or Hyundai that cannot be stolen with a USB charger. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If there's another car we should do a fitment guide on, drop it down below in the comments. Hit like, hit subscribe if these videos help you. Help us help you by hitting those buttons. It helps us a lot. If you're looking for wheels, tires, suspension, exhaust, performance, whatever, it's on our website. I linked it down in the description. I keep saying in bio. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.